Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask, Learn, Grow, where the Reef team share insights, answer questions, and talk about topics from the digital marketing industry. I'm joined today with Charlotte, one of our performance media managers, and Charlotte's recently used the Google Attribution model that's in beta in Google Analytics, and she's going to talk a bit more about this and how useful it can be in your day-to-day campaigns and reporting. So Charlotte, over to you. Do you want to tell people a bit more about what this actually is and why you chose to test it out?
So I chose to test it because that's a big question in terms of digital marketing and the digital challenge cross-channel for clients. We chose to build a project because first it was a beta in GA, so I really wanted to test it. The second reason for that is one of my non-for-profit clients are working with us since more than 2 years and are active in multi-channels, social, pet search, YouTube, display, all channels together. We are working on different conversion funnel, starting with the awareness. The problem that we had in GA is that it's considering the last click conversion. So a lot of our conversion were coming from direct. We wanted to understand what was the first step that customers were using into this conversion model. So that's the reason why we started to build this project, to have a better view and a better understanding of the impact of organic and pet search activity coming in the account and the impact in the transaction in total. So this is basically the project. You have to build the project a long time before because it has to learn. Once the project is built, you can go back in time every month. You can choose which attribution model you want. If it's last click, data driven, first click, you have the different panel of opportunities and understand better which one is the most interesting. The goal for us was really to understand why did we have so much traffic coming from organic and pet channel, but why did we have most of the revenue coming from direct only, and understand the client what was the purpose. So thanks to this report, we've been able to show and see where was the pet search activity in that funnel. And we could be able also to see if display was working thanks to the remarketing list only, or if it was also working thanks to just the broad targeting that we were setting up for each appeal. And that project showed us that pet search was usually used as a first step, but not necessarily the last step in terms of conversions. This report is really interesting also by the fact that you can change the attribution model once you've set up the report. The only thing that you cannot do is use the attribution model data driven, because you need to create a separate project from that. And you can also select the amount of steps that you want to see. If it's only the first one, or if it's above 2 channels, you can choose all of that, and it gives you a proper view about what's going on in your account, not only on the last click transaction side, but also in terms of bringing the traffic through the website and what are your customers doing in between those steps and the last click, which is the conversion moment.
Really good, really insightful. Because what you can sort of see here, what you just can't get in the usual GA reports, not to this level of detail anyway, is each channel's role in the full conversion path, which channels are driving, converting visitors, which ones are play a role in the journey, but they're not the first or the last, and which channels people tend to convert on.
And another thing which is super insightful is to use that sort of report at a moment of high competition. For example, tax appeal, you can prove what is the impact of pet search in that sort of moment, fighting with that high competition, that high volume of traffic going through the website. That's pretty important to compare with the normal months, for example, and to understand better the importance of each activation at which moment of this big appeal.
Great.
So for example, that would mean for us to activate display a long time before even activating any other channels, maybe rely on the YouTube video a bit later, but that also helped us to face the competition in high spike of marketing, like tax appeal, for example.
Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that, Charlotte. Definitely insightful reports that I'm sure you're going to be using a lot more of. Would I be right in saying?
Yeah, definitely. I created already some projects for different clients, because that's important also to share that as a knowledge with the client, to make them realize the impact also of their marketing, what they're doing on their side, and the basic rules of digital marketing, which is not just activating one channel, but understanding that complete big map of the conversion journey.
Excellent. Anything else to add just before we close up this call?
No.
All right, thanks for sharing. That wraps up today's call. So if you've got any questions about attribution models or any digital marketing topic, feel free to let us know, and we're always happy to answer questions. If you'd like to see the team answer any particular question, again, feel free to send those in and we'll see what we can do. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified of when the next video is available. Apart from that, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.